Hi everyone, Shadow here. Disciplinary Prefect Aria is finally here. Sleek design, strict presence, and a bit of mixed reception. But before you throw her into the waiting room forever, let's take a step back because while she might not be the top Bruiser queen some expected, she does have her moments, and in the right setups, she can contribute for the win. In today's video, I'm breaking down what she brings to the table, where she struggles, and most importantly, how to make her work for you. Let's get into it. Now let's break down what Disciplinary Prefect Aria actually does, and trust me, there's more to her kit than just raw numbers. First off, her damage. Yeah, let's not sugarcoat it. She's not bursting anyone down like Mort on a bad day, but here's the thing. Both her S3 and the extra hit from her S1 are guaranteed crits as long as they don't miss. That's actually huge. It means you can completely dump crit chance from her build and invest fully into HP, speed, and crit damage, which is exactly what she wants. Her damage scales entirely off max HP, so the more tanky you build her, the more value she gets across the board, not just in damage but also in survivability and most importantly, her passive. Which brings us to what I think is her real selling point as of now. Her passive, Unwavering Execution, is no joke. This skill does two very annoying things for your opponent. First, it doubles their soulburn cost, which absolutely screws over clip teams that rely on early soulburns to secure kills or tempo. It's a hard counter to units like Zio, Emoluna, or Lyrica that depend on soul control to function at their best. And second, she gets effect resistance at the start of the battle based on her max HP. Also, while she remains with no debuffs, she gives 40% effect resistance to your entire team, which is a very nice to have for any ER based drafts. If you are tired of getting controlled or bumped to death in turn 1, she's got your back. So, while she's not the one deleting teams, she can completely disrupt cleavers and punish aggressive openings with her bulk, ER utility, and passive pressure. Let's be real, and this is important, she's not going to be the next game changer, but under the right situation, she's a solid anti-clip tech pick who brings more to the table than people initially give her credit for. Especially in slower, grindier fights, she adds value over time with injury, guaranteed crits, and her passive. As for Molagora investment priorities, S1 and S3 should be your go-to if you are building her for Bruiser damage. If you are someone who loves effect resistant strategies, and you plan on using her as a full ER anchor, then her S2 is worth investing in as well to max out that passive potential. And now that you understand what she does, let's talk about how to actually build her, what sets work and what stats to shoot for. Alright, let's talk about builds. Disciplinary Prefect Aria is one of those units that looks simple on paper but actually demands a pretty tight balance when it comes to her gear. Now, I know what you're thinking, counter set sounds cracked on her, right? It does at first. After all, her S1 gives her combat readiness and the extra hit procs on counter too. More taunts, more utility. Makes sense. But here's the catch. Counter set doesn't give any useful stats to help her Bruiser role, and she's very stat hungry. You need high HP, solid crit damage, some speed, and if you are aiming for a bulky ER build, you need even more HP to help feed her passive too. So, unless you're sitting on a god tier counter gear, or you are just using her in a more support oriented role that chips in damage here and there, counter isn't the all-in-one answer. Instead, consider a speed or destruction set, not just to rotate faster into her S3, but to make her feel more fluid in the match and get your desired stats easily. We need to help her out a little bit with that. And when it comes to offsets, if you are building her for damage, pen set is basically mandatory. That S3 has built-in defense pen, and stacking another 15% just helps her stay relevant in terms of pressure. Otherwise, go for any offset that helps with your stat goals. But what are those stat goals? Stat-wise, an average build looks something like this. Now, whether that's ideal really depends on how you're drafting her. For some players, this kind of build hits a sweet spot. Decent bulk, decent tempo. But I've also seen people take her up to 220 speed to cycle faster and squeeze more out of her S3. That's totally valid. Just keep in mind, the faster she goes, the more you're sacrificing either HP or damage, which might make her feel even more underwhelming when it comes to threat level. By now, you may be asking, What about her ER? How much does she need? Let's quickly touch on it. Her passive gives her free ER based on her max HP, so you don't need to go stacking tons of it in substats. To give you a better idea, let me throw some numbers at you in this table. So, unless you are going full ER anchor mode, just having 25 to 40% base ER from gear is totally enough. The rest comes from HP scaling naturally. And that's your basic build breakdown. Now, if you're still worried about where to squeeze out more stats, don't forget, some artifacts not only bring utility but also boost her HP, which ties directly into her damage and passive. Stick around because in the next section we're covering exactly that, the best artifacts to run on her and how to get the most out of her kit. Cool, now that we've got her build down, let's talk about artifacts, because picking the right one for Disciplinary Prefect Aria really depends on whether you're building her for survivability or going all in on damage. First up, the most popular choice right now is Prayer of Solitude, and honestly, it just makes sense. You get up to 10% bonus HP, which directly boosts her kit even more. On top of that, it gives 10% extra damage and an additional 10% when she triggers an extra attack, which she does pretty often thanks to her S1 mechanic. So if you're aiming for a well-rounded Bruiser build, this artifact helps round out her stat line across the board. Next, we've got Golden Rose, a great middle ground option. If she stays above 50% HP, she gets up to a 16% increase in damage, but the cool part is, if she drops below 50%, she recovers 30% of the damage dealt as HP. If you are playing a slower, sustain heavy game, this keeps her in the fight longer while still rewarding offensive pressure. And for those of you who want to lean into aggression, we've got Thorn of the Blue Rose. This one is more niche, but still very good. You get 10 souls at the start of the battle, super useful if you are pairing her with soul-hungry allies or just planning on spamming her own Soulborn. Plus, it has 10% bonus damage when attacking and another 10% when using Soulborn, which can make her S3 hit a little harder if you really need it and stack the damage of this skill faster. What about other options? There are other artifacts that can work, stuff like Pipet Lance as another damage option or Durandal to help her cycle faster, but truthfully, these three, Prayer of Solitude, Golden Rose and Thorn of the Blue Rose, are her best fits right now. It really just comes down to playstyle. Do you want to play safe and make her a reliable Bruiser anchor, or go all in and squeeze every bit of damage you can out of her kit? Let's move into the final part of the video, gameplay and synergies, because knowing how to draft her and who to pair her with can make the difference between her feeling underwhelming and feeling like a tactical wall that ruins your opponent's game plan. So now that we got the builds and artifacts figured out, let's talk about how Disciplinary Prefect Aria actually performs in real content, starting with Guild Wars, Arena, and then moving into the big one, RTA. Let's be honest, these two modes are where she can work, but you're really playing her more for fun or variety in your attacks than for meta impact. The main issue, her passive Soulborn cost increase is useless against AI, so in attack teams, you're missing a big chunk of her core utility. Sure, defect resistance still works, and she's got decent Bruiser value, but at this point, there are other units who can hold that frontline role more reliably or offer better team-wide impact. Moreover, if she becomes the AI's focus, whether because she's the lowest HP unit or the only dark unit against a couple of light ones, you'll find out very quickly just how not tanky she can be. That said, if you're planning to run her here, there's one thing you must do. Put her in your defense team and pair her with a strong mitigation unit. This way, people will think twice if they want to clip you and will need to work their way around for them to attack you. Definitely, she's not going to redefine Guild Wars or Arena, but if you enjoy her playstyle and want to spice things up a little bit, she's a fun and viable option. Now, let's talk RTA, because here's where things start to get interesting. Unlike AI-driven modes, RTA gives you full control over how her passive impacts the fight. That means complicating the Soulborn mechanic to your opponent matters, and it's why she's starting to carve out a small but meaningful niche in draft strategies. Right now, she's sitting around a 50% win rate, and her most common pairs include, you guessed it, top tier meta units like Vosarunka, Empira Nilanav, and Lone Wolf Pera. These units help cover her weaknesses, offer pressure, and synergize with her tempo and soul denial playstyle. Where does she shine in RTA? She's doing surprisingly well against Soulborn heavy threats like Emma Luna, Lyrica, Zio, and C Phantom Politis. Even against DDR, she's showing respectable results, not because of the solvent denial, but because her effect resistance from HF scaling makes her hard to control. While she's still defining her place in drafts, she's not just a filler pick anymore. With the right support and matchup, she can be a real thorn in your opponent's side, especially in longer soul-starved matches. Key tip: no matter the mode, strong mitigation is non-negotiable. Keeping her alive gives her more uptime, more chance to use Purge, and more opportunities to mess with the opponent's plans. And if the match goes long, saving some souls for her soul run is absolutely worth it. It's the only way she can land a big, meaningful hit when it matters most. So yeah, she's not a brain-dead Bruiser or a clip nuke, but she brings a unique kind of pressure that can absolutely tip the scales in your favor when played right. To wrap things up, Disciplinary Prefect Aria may not be a game changer or a meta-defining Bruiser, but she definitely has her moments. With the right setup and smart drafting, she can still be a valuable pick, especially when you are looking to disrupt solvent-heavy comps. If you found this video helpful, consider liking and sharing it to support the channel, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this in the future. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, we'll see you in the next one. See ya!